cats and kittens. Sorry, I just had to do that. But welcome to Table Mountain Vineyards. Thanks for remotely tuning into our paint class. We're gonna go ahead and jump right in. Hopefully all of you guys have all of the materials for this painting that we're gonna be doing today. I specifically chose this painting because it requires the least amount of materials. So you're welcome, mamas. Okay, so first things first, hopefully everybody has your paper towels. We're gonna be using a large paintbrush. This one, honestly, we can do pretty much the whole painting with just this. Then everybody should have a mixing palette. We will do a couple of photos just so you can kind of see what we're working with here. And then also your water cup. Anytime you guys are not using your brush, go ahead and set it in, which honestly, you're gonna be using it the whole time. So, okay, so first things first, let's go ahead and get our large square brush wet. Okay, this first step, we are going to fill in the entire background of our canvas. Your biggest friend here is going to be water. Okay, so lots of water is going to move that pigment around the canvas, and we'll just go ahead and get started. So first step, I am going to mix my orange and my deep yellow. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up about 1/4 of the way up my canvas. This is where my horizon line is going to be. I want you guys to keep in mind that the lightest part of our canvas or our painting is going to be that center here where we're going to have our sunset. Okay, so first step, we're going to go ahead and fill this in. We're going to do darker to light and then up to darker again. Okay, so that's going to be the first step of this painting. Also, while you guys are doing your background, right now is a good time to paint in the sides and the top of your canvas. So any color that you put on the front of your canvas, I want you to move around to the sides. Give it a nice flush look. It'll sell better on eBay. I'm still gonna do my stupid corny jokes. Okay, so one thing to keep in mind is to get these nice fluid strokes on your canvas. If you guys have to stand up, go ahead and stand up. I know that helps a lot of painters just kind of get their arm moving more. But then, I don't know if you guys can see this little chip mark right there. It'll kind of help wash out all of those short strokes. okay? Lots of water. So now that I have my light section, I'm going to move back into my darker section. And I'm going to come back and put in my sun as well. So we're just laying the base down. Okay, so now that we have our sunset sky kind of put in, we're going to move in and add a little bit of detail with our clouds, and then also the brightest part of our painting with our sun. Okay, so for the sun, I'm going to use just white. Kind of give myself a sun look here, and just very softly brush that area out. Okay. Like I'm saying okay to myself. Maybe a few clouds over on the side here. Now for these clouds with my bigger brush, I'm just doing small kind of circular strokes to get that kind of puffy look, and I'll bring that into my sun just a little bit. And then same deal up top. I'm going to add a few different clouds up to the top of my canvas. Smaller circular strokes. and then we're just going to kind of brush that bottom part out. Real soft. If you guys want to soften them up a little bit more. Okay, so one thing that I want to let you guys know is if your painting is a little bit too dark or a little bit too light, you can always add more. To this one, I feel like it's a little bit too dark. It's darker than I would like. I'm going to soften it up with some white and quite a bit of water. And I'm just going to go in and kind of lighten in areas of this painting that I feel need a little bit of brightness. Okay, so hopefully everybody can see how much that lightened up my sunset. I like how that looks. I haven't really touched a lot of this down here. So really just kind of working from the bottom up. Okay, because our next step, I want you guys to make sure that this bottom or your horizon line is going to be pretty close to dry. If it's not, just sit back, kind of have a sip of your drink that you're drinking. And we're going to move on to our next step, which is going to be our foreground. Okay, so foreground, same deal. I'm just going to use plain black, and I'm going to come in and fill in this entire bottom quarter of my page. And same deal, you want to move that black around the edges and to the bottom of your canvas. I'm still using my crossway stroke. Once we start putting in the grass, I'll show you how I'm going to manipulate my strokes that way. If you guys want to put in a little bit of a hill, you can put in kind of a little hill that comes in here or goes up into your horizon line just a little bit. I'm not going to be too worried about my skyline or that horizon line because we are going to be adding a bunch of grass over it. So if you see imperfections, Don't dwell on those. We can just kind of cover them up a little bit later as we go. Hopefully they So on this step, I'm not really using any water because I want this to be a nice, dark, deep black that'll cover all of the pores of that canvas. Okay, so for this next step, we're going to be putting in our blades of grass. Pretty much the whole horizon line, we want to just reflect that grass growth, okay? So same brush, obviously the only brush that we have for this painting. Okay, go ahead and get that wet, dry it off. And for this step, what I'm going to do is I'm going to let the brush do quite a bit of the work for me. So I'm going to go ahead and get it nicely saturated in that black paint, just the tip of your brush. And then what I'm going to do is clean it off so it gives me a nice fine edge. Okay, and I'm going to be using my strokes upward like this, long ways. I'm going to use my brush. Like I said, the brush is going to do a lot of that work for me. So what I'm going to do is come into my horizon line, into the black, and just softly make my grass blades up from there. Okay, smaller blades closer to the horizon. Make them go any which way you'd like. Like I said, anytime that you come back and get more paint, make sure that you just kind of wipe off the excess to give your brush that nice fine edge. And I want to take away that horizon line by adding more blades down low. Now another technique that I'm using to make it look a little bit fuller in some areas is I may just squash my brush down on the canvas and then pull from that pigment that I've placed on that horizon there. Okay, so sharpen up my edge and then pull my blades out. As you get further away, or to the point of your grass, just softly pull that brush off your canvas and it'll give you a nice fine point. Okay, so now I'm going to come in and put in some really long blades that are going to be holding our wheat. Okay. And then to make the actual wheat head, same deal, we're going to turn our brush sideways. And I'm just going to make small strokes out this way. Okay, till you get to the head there and then back down on the other side. So really just small dashes. And your brush is going to be doing most of the work for you. I am going to tell you guys to start with really small strokes on this because it's really easy to add to your actual wheat head there, but it's going to be really, really difficult to take away. So always start small. You can add your paint to it. It's going to be a lot harder to take any mess ups away just because we're working with this really dark black on such a light background. Okay, so right now I have about 4 put in. I'm honestly only going to put 1 more. If you put too much, it's going to take away from your sunset, and you want to leave a little bit of area there for your birds that are flying. So I'm just going to add 1 more in here, and mine's going to come Just kind of across that way, give it an effect like the wind's blowing it a little bit. Okay, and that's going to be it for my blades. As I come back and paint a little more. Okay. Oh, am I still in the frame?
I was going to try and
That's
zoom
okay.
in here for...
Yeah, for the birds. Okay, so now for the birds in our sunset. What I'm going to do is I'm going to flip my brush over and I'm going to use it almost like a pencil. Okay, so go ahead and get the end of my paintbrush pretty saturated with that black. And I'm going to come in here and just do 2 small little arches, okay, for my birds. All right, if you guys want to use your brush or something different, you can surely do that. If you want to pencil it in, pull whatever you kind of have at home. If you have a smaller brush, use a smaller brush. There's also another way that you can do it where we'll use our paintbrush. I'm going to get my nice and wet and kind of dim that black color a little bit to give it the effect that the bird is a little bit further off in the distance. And then what I'm going to do is I have that nice sharp edge. I'm going to use just the corner of this paintbrush and just do my 2 little arches that way. So this gives it a much softer look. I'll let you guys kind of decide which route you want to go on. Like I said, if you have other materials at home, you can surely use those as well. But just kind of give your birds, maybe do one with the wings up, almost like a V. Okay, so on my original painting, I'm going to add just a few more tiny birds to give it that V formation. You guys can either be done at this point, add a few more. Like I said, same deal with the wheat. You don't want to add too much because it's going to take away from the painting and that pretty sunset that you put down. I really don't like that big bird in the middle. Okay, so that's a wrap. Once you guys are finished up with your painting, don't forget to sign that masterpiece, and don't everybody all post it on eBay at once. If you can't sell it on eBay, give it to your mom, because everybody knows mom never turns down your artwork. We appreciate you guys tuning in. If you have any questions, constructive criticism on how we can make this class better, feel free to do so and let us know. Comment on the class, let us know if you enjoyed it, how the kids managed with this painting, and hopefully we'll be back with some more.